Hi, good evening. How are you doing today? I've been speaking about mindset, which is all about the way we are perceiving the reality, the way we are thinking by connecting the dots to establish the cause and effect, the way we are deciding either by the gut or intuition or by assessing the benefits and efforts, and finally, the way we are acting or responding with conviction and consistency. That's what mindset is all about. And I've also been asking you to do a small exercise of talking to your friends, colleagues, neighbors, or relatives on their perceptions of the people to people interactions in today's situation of post-COVID lockdown era, and what you assume their perceptions would be, and try to find out what the similarities are and what the differences are, and then start a dialogue to establish a common collective mindset. That's been my topic continuously for quite some time now. I keep doing this because I believe that just understanding how the brain and the mind works and then working on mindset can really change our lives in a significant way. So I just repeat and recap whatever I'd explained till now. Brain is something which is phenomenal, born with close to about 100 billion neurons as a baby. Until we die, the same number of neurons continue, and it varies between 85 to 100 billion. There are some places where they talk about 100, some talk about 85 billion. I'm sure nobody has counted it really. It's just a rough estimate based on some sampling. So 100 billion neurons, and that remains more or less the same till we die. The only difference is as we grow older and our body length increases, size increases, like in my case, becomes a little fatter, then the length of the neuron increases, which is what is called as axioms that increases so that the neurons can get connected to each other in what is called as a synapses. And the synapse is something which occurs whenever we learn, whenever we think, whenever we have an emotional experience. Whenever brain is active, a synapse occurs, and close to 10,000 synapses occurs every day in an adult. And what is interesting to note is that when we were born, as babies, we have about 2,500 synapses, and as we become adults, it grows to about 10,000 synapses per neuron. It was 2,500 synapses per neuron. So as an adult, we would have about 10,000 synapses per neuron. And if to just understand the magnitude, if we start counting one synapse a second, assuming that there are no new synapses being formed, then it would take us close to about 32 million years to count all the synapses in our human body. So I'm sure it will not be possible for in our generation, neither will it be possible for the next couple of generations to come. It's 32 million years, one synapse every second. So it's a humongous magnitude, unimaginable. Now that is brain, whereas mind, in my understanding, is the software. I call brain as the hardware, which is more or less constant, like in the case of a computer, whereas the software, which is the mind, keeps changing, and that's where we keep learning, we keep gaining experiences, and based on the experiences and the emotions linked to those experiences, we frame we have a unique framework or what we call as mindset. And this mindset is what that drives our mind to constantly do predictions. Mind is a prediction machine because if you are able to predict what the next coming seconds would be, then your mind is in a position to capture the entire ambience and the reality very, very quickly. If that prediction were missing, so every time you see something, then you are starting from scratch, which means you need to analyze millions or billions or trillions of pixels, trillions of information, which is going to be very, very demanding for the brain. Therefore, if you remember when you are asleep and suddenly you wake up, then you are left nowhere. You really don't know where you are. It takes some time to get used to. That's because when you were sleeping, there were no feedback to the brain as to what the current reality and the surroundings were. And therefore, there was no prediction done. The moment you wake up and open your eyes, that is the first time you see the reality. And even then, since you are used to sleeping in a particular room or particular area, there is some amount of prediction done, but it is not that effective and efficient. So it takes some time to start predicting, and then as the day prolongs, then not even day, as the seconds prolong after you're awake, then the prediction starts, and that goes on till you sleep in the night. So this is something which is very, very interesting, and that prediction is something which continuously happens, and maybe, I'm not very sure, I need to really do a little more research on that. Dreams, what we see, could be also coming from these predictions. Dreams are part of the sleep, where you have what is called as REM, rapid eye movement, that can be recognized by any of these fitness trackers like this one, which I have, but I'm not wearing it now anyway. It's COVID time, so there's nothing much to do. This is a fitness tracker from Fitbit, one of the best available. My daughter gave it as a present to me. And this is something which can track the REM cycles in the sleep, so during which you are dreaming. And that's the time when I would imagine that predictions are constantly happening during the dream based on some experiences. That's what we see as dreams. And in the daytime, when we are awake, predictions are happening, which is then used for defining how we perceive reality, how we think, how we decide, and how we act. So that has been the talk which I've been doing till now. And if we can really understand this phenomenon of the brain, that the brain is predicting, the subconscious is always predicting the outcome within about 500 milliseconds before the response or the action. And we are not really aware of what the predictions are. We come to know of that consciously only about 200 milliseconds before the action or response. This is described in what is called as readiness potential, a research done by German scientist by name Kornhuber, and then later repeated by by another scientist by name Libet in US. So you can do all that research in internet. I'm sure a lot of abundant information is available. It's not a problem at all. And therefore, I am trying to say that once you understand how the brain works, we don't get annoyed because somebody is behaving badly, because you know that he didn't really do anything or she didn't do really anything bad. It's the subconscious which drove that person to behave in such way, which was totally uncontrollable. Again, I'm trying to exaggerate, you may think, but that's the reality. Therefore, the old sages used to say that there is no point in getting annoyed. You are the one who can make a choice. There is a very, very popular book by I'm not very sure. He was a Jew, Frank somebody. I don't know if I can remember the name. I'll tell you. This person went through a lot of horrible experiences in the Nazi camps, and then he writes a book on choice, to say that we have the choice. We have the choice to either feel bad or not feel bad, and that's something within us, which is very true. And we are the ones who are feeling. And if that entire understanding comes up, then automatically we will start behaving differently. We'll start behaving differently in situations which are uncontrollable. We would understand that, look, the other person is behaving the way he or she behaved because he's been driven by the subconscious, which is having only four simple objectives. Objective number one, to ensure that you are surviving. Survival is the most important thing. Second objective for the subconscious mind is to ensure that you are able to reproduce and the species continues, the life continues. That is the second most important objective. No objective of money, earnings, building a house, having a family. Having a family, of course, is part of the second objective in terms of buying a car, then buying a expensive watch, or going to a movie. These are all not the objectives of the subconscious. Subconscious only works with the first objective, survival. Second objective, to ensure that your progeny is safeguarded and there is continuity of life. And the third objective is to ensure that you belong to a group. Maybe to some extent, going to a movie with friends and relatives or colleagues could be part of the third objective, which is mainly to belong to a group. And the fourth objective is to really achieve something of greater good so that the entire evolution improves. And I believe that this is very true, since my perception of spirituality is that all of us are emanating from some kind, what I call as a central energy source, which has a lot of energy units, which we may call as souls. And these energy units kind of take a vacation package to come to Earth and experience the life the way it is in Earth, and then get back and try to optimize it. This happens for all the living souls, human beings, plants, wherever there is consciousness, which is there everywhere in the world. And that experience is what that constantly evolves the world, is my belief. I got this thought when I was in 8th standard, I think, or 9th standard. My father had just then died. And I was not sure why, or maybe 7th standard, I'm not very sure. I was walking one day to the vegetable market, and I always used to wonder, why is it that I am in a situation which is so uncomfortable, so crazy? Why is it that my father died? When somebody says that his father is this, his father is that, I don't have anything to say. And it's quite a nasty situation to be in. And I used to think, and suddenly I got this idea, maybe that's what it is. So I thought that I have chosen this packet, this kind of a vacation packet. And later, as a lot of ups and downs happened in my life, I started realizing that maybe that's the packet which I have chosen. So I experience whatever that happens in the best possible way to really make the best out of it. And that in some way or the other is to a great extent related to karma yoga, or being a sthita pragna as described in Bhagavad Gita. I never knew or read Bhagavad Gita when I was in the 8th standard. Neither did I know about Sthita Pragna. But only later did I come to know of so many spiritual ideas which were propagated by many experts, many learned people who are really great gurus of our lifetime. And this is the same in all the religions. It's not just in Hinduism, where we are talking about being in the present, where the religion talks about don't talk about think about the future. Whatever has happened in the past has happened. There's no point in brooding about that. Look at the present and be in the present. And being in the present is something which is the most important thing for happiness, because then you are experiencing life and surroundings the best possible way that you can. So having said this, today I digressed a little from our daily routine checklist which I have got, and the quarterly business plan which I've been talking about all this while. So it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's interesting to recap and talk about what mindset is all about and why is it that I'm doing all this. Because I believe that if suppose we could tell everybody, because we are like self-learning computers, imagine that. And if the computer is unable to learn on its own, then the computer is more or less obsolete. We will never become obsolete, because till we die, we are constantly creating new learnings, new synapses. That's the way the mind works. That's the way the human body is made of. So there is no end to it at all. Constantly we can learn. And this learning is what that gives us new insights, new ideas, and new experiences to change our mindset. So it's a cyclic situation. More experiences we have got, more emotional experiences we have got, and that gets into our subconscious, which then changes our mindset. So our perceptions, the way we perceive, the way we think, the way we decide, and the way we behave changes automatically. And therefore, it's important to go through the experiences. Again, another school of thought. I remember when I was having a lot of tough times in my work because of various reasons. I thought that why the hell is it happening? It's not crazy at all. It's not at all right. What could be the reason? So I went and read a book called as Da Vinci Method. I don't know whether you've heard of that. If you have not, please read that if you're interested in Da Vinci Method. It talks about some kind of a special gene. I don't know whether it is true or not, which gets activated in Da Vinci's. Da Vinci's are those people who change the society, who change the way we are living, who create an impact in the society. And the Da Vinci learning said that these are the guys who are crazy. Sometimes they don't adhere to the rules and regulations and then go beyond, because they've lived based on the value systems, and something happens to make sure that they're talking about what they feel. And so that's something which gave me a little peace. Why I say that is that really demonstrates that there is a possibility of changing the mindset continuously. Not only Da Vinci Method, even when I'm speaking to you, I'm sure many of you would have started some of these activities of daily meetings, weekly sharpening reviews, sharpening discussions, and on a monthly basis, topics which are relevant for the business plan. So before I end today, let me briefly touch upon today's topics, and then I would explain in detail tomorrow the topic, the sharpening topic for today and for tomorrow. Today, of course, we would have done the daily meeting. In case you have not done that, ensure that you start doing it from tomorrow onwards. Daily meeting basically has 7 topics. The first one is to have a scoreboard, which talks about the past trends and then the future projections and the actual situation, and the learnings and learnings from yesterday's successes and failures is the second point, which one needs to talk on the daily stand-up meeting. The third one is to discuss and agree upon and decide upon a rolling plan with 5 days, yesterday, which is already done, today, which is already frozen, tomorrow, which already was frozen yesterday, day after tomorrow's plan, which I'll freeze today, and the day after tomorrow's plan, which will be a forecast, which can be frozen tomorrow. So these are the 5 days which have to be always addressed in the rolling plan. Then comes the deviation management to see if anything, any issue was there. And after that, to ensure that the teamwork is happening smoothly without any conflicts. Conflicts are bound to happen in teamwork. Teams without conflicts are no teams. So conflicts have to happen. And it is important also to address those conflicts and resolve them very fast. Conflicts happen basically because different mindsets. And these mindsets are different. They have to be different. But at the same time, teams have to evolve a collective common mindset for a common goal. And that's what that creates, that kind of a conflict. And at the same time, conflict being very positive and very, very supportive to achieving the goal. That's something which is very, very inherent of a high performing team. And then after that, very, very important for the day is to talk about rewards, recognitions, and celebrations of any success, small successes. And finally, to talk about escalation, which you have to give to the top management, or reporting on something, or maybe also seeking approvals for some decisions which have to be taken. So this is the 7 topics of daily meeting. And after that, on a weekly basis, we talk about what deviations occurred in the recent past, which have been irritants, which have been issues, and what is the root cause for that. And after that, establish the corrective and preventive actions, and maintain an OPL, open point list for all these actions which have been defined, to say that they're completed, not completed, validated, not validated. And finally, to really talk about a contingency buffer. Contingency buffer is, let us say you have a target of 10. You should have a plan to achieve 12. Only then will you be able to achieve a target of 10. This is again simple rock bottom basics. And these basics, if they are ingrained in every individual, every professional, then we'll be creating magical outcomes in all the companies worldwide. That is guaranteed, because I have seen this happen in my company, my teams, my departments, and later. And this I'm talking about not only in India. I'm talking about India, Brazil, Germany, 3 areas where I worked, and also with my clients from diverse sectors, diverse sizes, micro company, large company, medium companies from various sectors. So they also have been having success moment these contingency buffers are built up. That is a secret. There is no magic. And then it doesn't mean that because I have to build a contingency buffer, I reduce the target. That is the wrong way of doing it. The right way of doing it is have a target based on the outcome that is desired, derived from the outcome. And the contingency buffer, if it is less, then do a brainstorming, have a doHow session to generate ideas, to build up more actions, more approaches to bridge that contingency gap. That's the way it goes. That's a weekly activity which has to be done. And the weekly activity, I said, would be done on various topics. Yesterday's topic was vendors. Today's is design. I'm talking about design today. Tomorrow I'll talk about design. And tomorrow's topic of team effectiveness. These are the 2 topics which I'll be addressing tomorrow mainly. With that, I come to the end of today's live session. I am sure that you would be in a position to start understanding the way brain works, and then change your mindset for good, which would be effective, and you can become more effective in your lives, in your roles. And finally, once again, request you to do the small baby step exercise of talking to your friends, relatives, colleagues, or neighbors on their perceptions of people-to-people interactions and what you assume their perceptions would be. Try to find the commonalities and establish the differences, and then start a dialogue to talk about both the differences and the commonalities for establishing a common collective mindset. With that, have a nice evening for those of you in India, and for those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. See you tomorrow, more or less at the same time. Goodbye.